Hello guys, come with me from noob to pro in Animal Hospital. Right now I have 6 shifts and I'm a nurse, but I want to become a security. I think I can afford to become security. No, I can't just yet. So let's hop in a game of Animal Hospital. Alright. Guys, I don't know how many shifts I'll be able to survive. My goal is 100, but that might be a little too hard, but I can speedrun this, hopefully. Okay. Alright, here's our first patient. What do they say? They say, Doctor, I have an appointment. Okay. An appointment. Alright, stamp forms. Take photo. Inspect. Okay, yeah, they look good. Okay, there we go. Let's follow them to their room. Yeah, they should be in room 1. Okay. Alright, let's try and speedrun this to get to shift 100. I think it would have been quicker with people, but it's fine. Next patient is here. Alright. Okay, then I got room 2. Ooh, what's that person saying? Alright, I don't really care. If they won't just stand up and come to the register. Why did the walking sounds make me jump when it was literally my character? Wow, there's moles on those keys. They must be old. Dried eyes, I know. Still, I dropped. Doctor is arriving. Alright. You must be the new hire. I'm Dr. Harlow. Okay. Hi, Dr. Harlow. Some advice: if things get strange, just keep working. Alright, Dr. Harlow. I will fix up the shutters and security cameras for you. Thank you, Dr. Harlow. Okay, don't ask why I'm doing that. Shutters, alright. Thank you very much, Dr. Harlow. Use the cameras to detect anomalies. They hate photos. Okay. I want to see what number I can get to over there with the killer cats. Okay, it's now shift 2. I need to check in 3 patients. 1 second. Analyze. Oh, that's to leave. That doesn't look normal. that scared me. Alright, my sanity is already low. So let's open up the shutters and everything bad is happening on day 2. I swear this game doesn't want me to survive. Okay. Let's do all of this. They look normal. Okay, what's her name? Zoe. Okay. They got room 3. I'm Peanut Takida. I want to check in as a patient. Alright. Stamp forms, take photo, register, print badge. Yeah, they look fine. Okay. Thanks, I will be in room 1. Okay. Alright, they got room 1. And I've already been recording for 6 minutes. Wow. And I'm only on shift 2. This actually might have to be a long video, okay? I want to check in as a patient. Okay, their name is Gadio, I think. Alright. Katie Woods. Okay, their name is Katie Woods. Let's clean this. Okay. Analyze sample. I'm gonna have to treat more and more patients every day, well, every shift. So let's try and get this dermatite rash. That should be ointment, I think. Yeah, it should be ointment. Oh my god, I got it right. Okay. Let's go to room 2. Yeah, that scared me. Alright. It's taking everything out of me to not look up. Brush should be ointment and bruises should be Medkit. Ointment. Okay, and try to not let any patients die. Okay. Let's take DNA sample. Analyze sample. Red eyes and bruises. So yeah, I know what this is gonna be. Eye drops and Medkit. Okay, the doctor is arriving. Okay, let's go. Alright. I'm opening new facilities for you. The supply shop will be open for a limited time each shift. Okay. Oh, I have some YouTube on in the background. I hope you don't mind. This is gonna get boring. Okay. The shop is open. Let's go.
So I decided to go to another NPC, and they said something even stranger. Another containment breach in Ward C. Now, hold on. At first, you're probably like, okay, what the heck is this guy talking about? But just think about it for a second. What do you mean containment breach? And that's not normal hospital language. I mean, if you talk about an isolation room, I mean, sure. Or even
deploy a security camera.
But containment breach? That's something you'd expect
Used to scan a patient for anomalies. One use.
On top of that, that NPC said another. So that means this has happened before. This isn't just something
Nothing's
that
worked
They're
except for the
talking about
bell.
it casually. It's something that always happens. But before I could even process that little bit of dialogue, another NPC casually mentions that multiple patients disappeared. Not transferred, not discharged, not sent home, not even healthy. They just simply said they're gone. Think about how insane that actually is for a second. Imagine you literally get in real life, and then someone walks up to you while you think you're about to get the best care of your life, while you think you're about to get healed from whatever sickness you have, whatever broken bone you have. Someone decides to just walk up to you and casually says, 3 patients disappeared last week. So, what would you do? I mean, obviously, you would leave immediately. I would, of course. That's weird. But in animal hospital,
I want to check in as a patient. Alright.
Everyone inside that animal hospital keeps working like nothing happened. Nobody's panicking. Nobody's calling the police. Nobody's demanding answers.
I can't talk the whole time. I'm gonna get out of breath. So, if I'm not talking, sorry.
I hear a line that completely changed how I looked at this game.
Daddy?
One of the animals ends up
Daddy?
What?
I'm
I
thirsty.
told you as soon as I finish my game, I'll grab you one.
Okay. Hey,
Don't need to argue there, but I hadn't forgotten.
alright. Hey, I'm here for my appointment, alright? Stamp form. Take photo.
I just played that game, the Scratch Creek one with my friend Kay. Yeah, that also has a creepy basement. And there are thousands of other horror games that literally have creepy basements. It's honestly mandatory at this point for a horror game to have a creepy basement.
Come on,
So
man.
obviously at first I laughed at this line. I mean, of course there's a basement. Of course nobody's allowed down there. But then I noticed something. This basement isn't just mentioned once. It's mentioned over and over and over and over again.
Hey there, friend. I'm Barney.
You're not supposed to know. And nobody actually
Can you give me a
explains what's
coffee?
down
There's
there.
no coffee.
That's what makes it
I've had
interesting.
a
If this basement
long
was just a
day.
casual basement, even if it was empty, why are we hiding it? But that's where it gets even worse, because this game isn't just hiding the basement from you, the player. You're not the only one left in the dark about this thing. This game is hiding the basement from every single character inside the hospital. It's almost like whatever's down there explains everything that's going on.
I'm just gonna have to
But
buy
something
one.
doesn't add up, because at this point, I wasn't scared.
Don't
I actually wasn't scared at all. I was just confused, because none of this matched the game I thought I was playing. I thought this was a Roblox hospital simulator, where, you know, we find anomalies, and we cure them, and we stop the anomalies, and, you know, just what everybody thought Animal Hospital was. But instead, I've got disappearing patients,
I'm gonna take ointment and I'm gonna give the ointment.
and won't say a thing, and a basement that everyone's terrified to talk about. So I asked myself a simple question: what kind of hospital needs containment procedures? But obviously, the answer would be one treating very dangerous diseases. But then another question popped into my head: if they're treating dangerous diseases at this animal hospital, why are patients disappearing instead of recovering? We all know this. Hospitals exist to make people healthy
I wanna
after
give
being sick, not
coffee.
lose them, not make people disappear, unless losing them was never an accident. Now that might sound ridiculous. I mean, that honestly might sound very ridiculous. But trust me, we're just getting started. See, after talking to the animals in the lobby, I figured maybe they were just paranoid. Maybe they were overreacting. Maybe this whole hospital was
Alright, I needed that. She needed that.
But then I met Ron. Now, if there's
I
one
will
character
remove
I
this.
expected to be boring, it was the accountant. I mean, come on, Ron from accounting. It's accounting. How interesting could this guy possibly be, right? But apparently, he's a lot more interesting than the actual doctors. The first thing Ron says seems innocent enough. I mean, he jokes around, he acts friendly, he's almost like every other NPC. But after talking to him a few more times, he starts slipping. He starts saying little comments and small hints. It's almost like he's trying to tell you something without without actually saying it. And at one point, he asks, "You ever wonder why they keep hiring new people?" And then he immediately changes the subject. And that one completely caught me off guard. Because why would an accountant even think about that? Hiring isn't an accountant's job. And especially isn't Ron's job, right? Unless he keeps seeing employees disappear. Or maybe not just disappear, maybe they're quitting. Or maybe they're doing something worse. I mean,
Okay. I will be in room 4, alright?
Every few weeks, another intern shows up, and another employee leaves. Nobody talks about why, nobody asks questions, and eventually, you stop asking too. That sounds less like a workplace and more like a revolving door. And then Ron starts talking about paperwork. Now, normally paperwork is the least exciting thing imaginable.
You ever wonder why they keep hiring new patients? New people, never mind. I want to know.
It was a whole stack of paper, and just paperwork is boring. But here's the thing. Paperwork in horror stories is everything. Because paperwork tells you what people don't want you to know. Ron mentions discharge logs, hospital records, old files, and he even says something that immediately raises a red flag. They moved the old files last month. Now, the only explanation to that would be...
Oh, this is the visitor. Ron, you're a visitor? Who are you visiting? I got room 4. Okay, room 4.
Don't randomly move years of medical records without a reason. Those records are incredibly important, unless someone wants to make sure nobody could ever read them again. And now suddenly, the disappearing patients make even less sense. Because if patients are disappearing and records are disappearing, who exactly is keeping track of what happens inside this hospital? And this is where we get to the word that changes everything. You see, up until this point, you could argue that this was all just a coincidence. But then Ron says one sentence that completely changes the investigation. They're testing something here. Did you get that one?
Okay.
Testing. Not treating, testing. That is a massive difference. Because hospitals exist to treat patients. Laboratories exist to test things. So why is somebody using laboratory language inside a hospital? Then he continues. The patients, they're not sick. They're infected. And that line bothered me for a long time. Because infected doesn't necessarily mean dying. It means something happened to them. Something spread to them. Something changed them. And suddenly, these anomalies wandering around the hospital started looking a little different. What even is an anomaly? Seriously, think about it. The game tells you anomalies are dangerous, but it spends almost no time explaining where they actually came from. That's a pretty huge detail to leave out. I mean, imagine a zombie movie that never explains how the virus happened, or a vampire movie that never tells you how vampires exist. Normally, the origin is one of the biggest parts of the story. An Animal Hospital skips it completely. It's almost like you're not supposed to ask. And this next part is
okay.
Now, if you've played Animal Hospital, Barney is weird. He's really weird. I mean, the first time he walks in, he doesn't attack anyone. He doesn't scream. He doesn't even seem dangerous. Instead, he asks for coffee. That's it. Coffee. And at first, I laughed. I mean, out of everything happening in this hospital, this guy's biggest concern is caffeine. But then he keeps coming back again and again and again. And eventually, I stopped asking, why does Barney want coffee? And started asking, what does coffee actually do? Because in this game, coffee isn't just coffee. It restores your sanity. That's a really strange mechanic, to be honest. The lower your sanity gets, the stranger the hospital becomes. You begin seeing things, hearing things. Reality itself starts feeling off. So why does Barney constantly want more coffee? Maybe because he already knows what happens when someone sees too much. And this is where we get to the suitcase. Because eventually Barney hands you a suitcase with one instruction: don't open it. And naturally that immediately made me want to open it. I mean, the game even tells you it's unusually heavy. And now I really want to open it. But the game never actually explains what's inside. Anyways, later on, Barney comes back asking for something very specific.
I dropped some more maternal cough syrup.
Bandages, a scalpel. So you hand it to him, he thanks you, and he picks up the suitcase and quietly leaves. And then the game never follows up on that. There's no explanation, there's nothing actually. You're expected to move on. But after everything we've already learned, it's hard not to wonder. Someone asks for surgical tools and they're carrying a heavy suitcase. That's not exactly comforting. But then everything changes. The police suddenly enter the hospital. They're looking for Barney. And that's when we learn he isn't just another patient. He's a wanted serial killer. So immediately I'm thinking, okay, finally, somebody's actually going to stop this guy. Then Barney appears behind you, knife in hand, and quietly says, if you say a word, I'll kill you. And this is where I expected the game to reward the obvious choice. Turn him in, help the police, do the right thing. Except that's not what happens. If you help Barney, he rewards you. And if you report him, almost nothing changes. That completely flipped my perspective. Because the game isn't rewarding morale, it's rewarding loyalty. But loyalty to who? That's the real question. Because Barney keeps coming back to this hospital. Nobody permanently stops him. Nobody seems shocked to see him. It's almost like he belongs here. And if Barney belongs here, what kind of hospital have we actually walked into? By now, it's pretty obvious that this hospital is hiding something, but the question is, who is responsible? At first, I honestly thought maybe the doctors didn't know. Maybe they were just employees following
Miku keeps inviting me to his game, but sorry Miku, can't play right now.
Paying closer attention to Dr. Harlow. On your first day, he comes across exactly how you'd expect. Friendly, professional, calm. He's the one teaching you how everything works. In fact, if this were any other game, you'd probably trust him immediately. But the more I played, the less that trust made sense. Because while everyone else is running around dealing with patients, Dr. Harlow almost always seems to be watching. Not helping, watching. One of the NPCs tells you, look around. So, I did, and at first, I saw nothing. But then I looked out one of the upstairs windows, and there he was, just standing, looking directly at me. He's not talking to patients, he's not helping employees, he's simply
Progress
observing.
results.
Almost like he's making sure
that.
everything goes according to plan. And at first I thought this was just a creepy Easter egg, but then I remembered something. Scientists
blue,
observe
red eyes.
experiments, and doctors treat patients. That's a very important difference. And if he's a doctor, why does he look like an anomaly? Because later in the game, Dr. Harlow's appearance starts changing. His eyes are moving. His expressions become unsettling. In some artwork, he's even shown holding surgical tools over innocent animals. Now, obviously, that doesn't automatically make him evil. Lots of horror games actually have creepy character art. But then I found Rathu. Out of every character in Animal Hospital, Rathu might actually know the most. At first, he seems just like a funny little rat. You know, comedic relief, someone to lighten the mood, but then he starts talking. And almost everything he says points toward one thing: secrets. He explains that because he's small, people don't notice him. He hears conversations, he sees things, he goes places.
Some patients may seem unstable.
But then he gives you probably the biggest warning in the entire game.
Why do I tell? Make sure to use the phone cameras. Stay alert, alright.
Don't trust anyone, and that includes
I will unlock the taser, use it wisely.
even worse.
No, I'll grab the taser.
Twin sister, Martina. She worked for the corporation, but one day she disappeared. No explanation, no goodbye, nothing. Now remember, patients aren't the only ones disappearing. Employees disappear too, and that's a huge detail. Because if people working inside the corporation are suddenly vanishing, that suggests whatever's happening isn't just affecting patients. It's affecting everyone who learns too much. It's almost like once you know the truth, you become part of the cover-up. Now, before leaving, Rathu gives you a key. And at first, it doesn't seem very important until you discover what it actually unlocks. Because hidden beside one of the hospital's motivational posters is a secret safe. I mean, already that's incredibly suspicious. Like, why hide a safe behind a motivational poster if there's, you know, nothing behind? Or why even hide it at all? But anyways, inside, you find three things: a photograph of Retina, Dr. Harlow's suitcase, and a note with one sentence: the experiment was a success. And that changes everything. Because up until now, experiments were just a theory. NPCs hinted at them, Ron mentioned them, but this is the first piece of evidence directly connecting the hospital to an experiment. Not a treatment, not a recovery, an experiment. The question becomes, what exactly was successful? And this is where things start getting really interesting. Because while researching secret medical facilities throughout history, I kept coming back to one name: Unit 731. Now, before we go any further, I want to make something very clear. There is no
That's why
evidence that Animal
I
Hospital
always
is officially
carry
based on Unit 731.
maple syrup
The
with
developers
me.
have never confirmed that. This is simply a theory based on similarities between the game story and real historical events. So with that said, those similarities are honestly hard to ignore. For anyone who hasn't heard of Unit 731, it was a secret Japanese military research program that operated during World War II. And on the surface, it actually appeared to be an ordinary medical research facility, similar to how Animal Hospital is on the surface, with doctors, scientists, medical staff, and honestly, from the outside, it just looked legitimate. But behind closed doors, the facility secretly carried out biological research and human experimentation. Much of what happened there remained hidden for years. Records were destroyed, evidence disappeared, and many details only became widely known after the war through historical investigations and testimony. Now, compare that to Animal Hospital, a medical facility hiding experiments, restricted sections employees don't talk about, missing records, deleted evidence, patients disappear. It's almost like the hospital's real purpose isn't healing, it's hiding. And then I realized something that made me rethink the hiding. Throughout this whole investigation, I've actually been talking about the doctor.
I only took 2 sets.
Dr. Arlo, Barney, Ron, Rathu, but I completely ignored the most important character, us. I mean, think about what we actually do every shift. We never question the disappearances. We never report the missing records. We never investigate the basement. Instead, we simply keep doing our job. We process patients, we remove anomalies, we follow instructions, and we trust the people giving us orders. Without realizing it, we become another employee helping the hospital continue operating. And maybe that's the entire point of the story. Not that the player is evil, but that people can become part of something much bigger.
I want to open it, but I can't apparently.
So here's where I landed after putting everything together. I don't think Animal Hospital is really about curing animals. I think it's about preserving the illusion that animals are being cured. And behind that illusion, experiments appear to be taking place. The anomalies may not be invading the hospital. They may actually be a result of whatever those experiments are. And whether the developers intended this story to resemble historical events like Unit 731, or whether the similarities are purely coincidental, I honestly can't say. But I do think the comparisons are interesting enough to ask questions, because that's ultimately what this video was. Not proving a conspiracy, not finding hidden developer intentions, just following the evidence that the game gives us, and seeing where it leads. And for me, it led to one conclusion. The real horror of Animal Hospital was never the anomalies. It was the people running the hospital. But that's just my theory, and maybe there's something I missed. Maybe there's another hidden ending, another piece of dialogue, or another secret that completely changes everything. Animal Hospital is just another game where you treat patients, survive your shift, and try not to let anyone die. At least that's what I felt. Because after spending hours looking through gameplay, hidden mechanics, and things the game actually never explains, I realized we've all been playing it completely wrong. Because hidden around this hospital are dozens of secrets that most players never notice. Some anomalies have hidden weaknesses that the game never tells you about, some can only be seen through security cameras, and one lets you literally throw patients in the trash while the game tells you nobody will ever find out. And somehow, that's only explains the strange that's happening in this hospital. So today we're uncovering the biggest secrets of the time in Animal Hospital. And most of these secrets you have definitely know. The first thing I realized is that this game doesn't actually want you watching your patients. It wants you watching everyone else. Now, as weird as that sounds, I need you to hear me out, because after a few shifts, I started noticing something really strange. Every now and then, I'd walk past a receptionist that looked completely normal. Nothing creepy, nothing out of place, just another employee doing their job. But then, I'd pull up the security cameras, and suddenly, they weren't normal anymore. Their appearance completely changes depending on how you're looking at them. Now, at first, I thought this was just some visual bug, but it isn't. Animal Hospital intentionally hides certain anomalies from your own eyes, which means every time you're walking through these hallways, you have no idea who's actually not an anomaly. And once I realized that, I started checking the cameras constantly, which is when I noticed something even creepier. Apparently, it isn't just the staff. Some of the animals can do the exact same thing. You see, in person, they look completely harmless, but through the cameras, there's something else entirely. It's almost like the security system isn't just recording the hospital, it's showing you what the hospital actually looks like. And immediately, that made me wonder, how many other things was I completely missing? And that's when I stumbled across one of the darkest darkest mechanics in the entire game. You see, normally if a patient dies, you'd expect the game to punish you. I mean, you work at a hospital. Your job is to keep these patients alive, treat them for their sickness, and make sure they get out of there healthy. So of course, when a patient dies, you would expect to lose money, lose reputation, and maybe even fail the shift entirely. But no, that's not the case. Because instead, the game gives you another option. You can drag that patient's dead body across the entire hospital, walk over to a trash can, and throw them inside. And after that, you just continue your day. And the craziest part about all that is the game literally tells you no one will know. I genuinely laughed the first time.
Now, how does Barney know my name?
Mechanic, because you're supposed to be saving lives. Yet the hospital's completely okay with you hiding the evidence of a dead
Actually, no. How does Barney know my name?
Is this hospital actually trying to help you?
Guys.
Or has something been wrong here long before we ever showed up? And that question gets even weirder once you realize that not every anomaly actually wants to fight you. You see, the first time I ran into a bed monster, I assumed I was done. I mean, it looks terrifying. It takes up half the room, and your first instinct is to either run away or waste every weapon you have trying to survive. But apparently, you don't have to do either. Because for some reason, the horrifying monster absolutely loves maple syrup. I mean, seriously, if you just hand it a bottle of maple syrup, it happily accepts it and then leaves. That's
You
it.
truly are Freddy. Thanks for the photo. No. Why does Barney look like that?
Had some weird hidden weakness, just like that bed monster. And it turns out a lot of them do. And one of the strangest examples of this has to be the headband. You see, normally this thing is incredibly annoying. I mean, it literally stops you from closing the shutters. It literally forces you to waste your time. Like, you have to go out there, tell it to leave, and get jump scare in the process. That's pretty annoying. And on top of that, it usually makes just treating patients in general a nightmare. But apparently, someone figured out something unbelievably specific. You see, if you grab a cup of coffee, take 2 sips yourself, and then hand the last sip to the headbanger, instead of attacking, it stops. And when it looks at the coffee, it quietly says, "Coffee," and calmly walks away. Now, this is honestly one of the funniest interactions in the game, but it also raises another question. Coffee restores your sanity too, so why does it calm down the anomaly? Was it just a random joke by the developers, or is there actually a reason these creatures recognize ordinary hospital supplies? The game never explains it, it just lets you keep wondering. And speaking of sanity, I completely underestimated how important it was. You see, at first I thought health was the biggest thing to manage, but it's not. It's your sanity. Because once your sanity starts dropping, everything starts feeling wrong. The hospital becomes harder to read, you begin making mistakes, and some anomalies become much more dangerous simply because you're not thinking clearly. Which is probably why some of the weirdest items in the entire game aren't actually used to heal patients. They're used to keep you functioning.
What's Blue doing, Dad?
I don't think most players would ever discover naturally. Because if giant eyes suddenly appear on the ceiling, your first instinct is probably to leave, not hand them teardrops. Yet somehow that actually works. After you give these giant eyes these teardrops, the eyes disappear, and your sanity is saved. And then you're left wondering, why can a supernatural entity apparently be defeated, but let me just tell you, the more secrets I found, the less this hospital started making sense. And somehow, things were only getting stranger. Because at this point, I was kind of realizing something. This game wasn't just hiding mechanics, it was hiding things in plain sight. Because after I started paying more attention to the hospital itself, instead of just my patients, and just the anomalies, I began noticing little details that had somehow been right in front of me the entire time. For example, have you ever looked out the lobby windows? I mean, actually look. Because every once in a while, something appears outside. An anomaly version of Dr. Harlow. Just standing there, watching. He doesn't run toward the building, he doesn't wave, he doesn't even move. He simply stares through the window like he's waiting for something. And what's creepy...
Over your old laptop? Find laptop love again at Curry's. With the Asus VivoBook 16 Copilot Plus PC. Thin, light, lightning fast. Next level you, now with AI. Work, create, and scroll seamlessly. You deserve it. Find laptop love again with the Asus VivoBook 16 Copilot
Okay, I'm gonna go to room 8 first. I'll be back. Actually, I'll record myself doing it. Okay.
Still got a tray up your sweetheart?
No.
No, Daddy took it out. Can I have that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Good girl.
I didn't. Okay, I'm gonna give this person the wrong thing on purpose because right before I gave them it, like when I was giving them their badge, I saw their photo. It scared me. It was an anomaly. See, wrong treatment. Anomaly.
In your head while you continue treating patients like everything's normal. It's just one of those moments that makes you stop and think, if he's outside, then who's inside the hospital? But then I found something even more messed up. Let's say you're having a really bad run. You're low on money, inventory is empty, and patients keep showing up faster than you can treat them. Well, most games would actually expect you to survive with what you've got. But Animal Hospital gives you another option. If you walk over to somebody who's peacefully sitting in the waiting room and tase them, or if you're carrying a gun, then shoot them. You can carry them into a treatment room, patch them back up, and then collect your payment. And boom, you're not low on cash anymore. The game literally lets you create your own patients. It's efficient, it's profitable, and it's probably the fastest way to lose your medical license, if you even had one to begin with. But anyways, by now, I was convinced that the developers had hidden interactions everywhere. So I started testing random things. And one discovery caught me completely off guard. You know all that slime that covers the floor? I mean, it's honestly pretty annoying. But most players, like myself, stop what they're doing and just scrub it by hand, which honestly takes forever. But apparently, fire extinguishers in this game don't just put out fires. They blast the slime away almost instantly. It's one of those tiny mechanics that's easy to overlook, but once you know it, you'll never clean the hospital the old way again. Which immediately made me ask another question. If a fire extinguisher can clean slime, what else can it do? But anyways, moving on, one of the most annoying enemies in the game has to be the hider. The first time you encounter one, you naturally assume you're supposed to fight it. So, players waste tasers, bullets, but the funny thing is, you actually don't have to. Instead, just climb onto the nearby cabinets, but that's it. The hider can't reach you, and you don't waste any supplies. And eventually you can continue like nothing happened. And it's honestly such a simple trick that it almost feels like cheating. But that's something Animal Hospital does really well. The safest solution usually isn't the most obvious one. But then I noticed another problem. The scariest anomalies in the game usually aren't the loudest ones. They're the quiet ones. The ones you barely notice. Take the hunched anomaly, for example. I've watched people walk straight past it. And not because they're bad at the game, but because nothing about it immediately screams danger. It's just slightly different. A little too bent over. A little too unnatural. And by the time most players realize what they're looking at, it's already too late. And honestly, I think that's way cooler
one
than
more,
some
and
giant
then I'm
monster
ready to
chasing
start
you down
with
the
it.
hallway. Because it means the game is teaching you to pay attention to the smallest details. Not everything dangerous announces itself, which leads into one of my favorite secrets and details
Green,
in the entire game, which is
red,
eventually you'll come
blue.
across what looks like some kind of ritual. There's candles burning everywhere, and everything feels completely wrong. The obvious reaction is to destroy it as quickly as possible. I mean, I did that my first time of seeing it, but if you do that the normal way, you lose sanity. So instead, what you can do is you can extinguish every candle using teardrops. There's no sanity loss with that, and once again, the game solves a supernatural problem with a completely ordinary item. So after finding this secret out, at this point, I stopped asking how any of this made sense at all, and instead, I started wondering whether these items were chosen for a reason. Because coffee, teardrops, maple
IV
syrup, none
drops,
of those
herbs,
feel
and
random.
medicine.
It's almost like whoever built this hospital knew exactly what these anomalies were long before we ever arrived. And that's when I started paying attention to something I
IV
completely
drops.
ignored before. Not the monsters, not the patients, but the hospital itself.
Herbs.
You see, I wasn't really looking for secret tips anymore. I was looking for answers. Because after hours of playing, one question kept bothering me. What actually happen to this hospital? I mean, think about it. You're treating patients, but at the same time, you're carrying around tasers, fire extinguishers, weapons, and special items that somehow affect supernatural creatures. It's almost like the people working here already expected the impossible to happen. Nothing about this place feels normal. And once you start looking at it that way, you begin noticing details that are really easy to miss. For example, the cameras. At first, they're just another gameplay mechanic, a way to keep an eye on your patients. But after seeing multiple anomalies that only reveal themselves through the security system, I started wondering why. I mean, if these creatures can hide from your eyes, why can't they hide from a cheap security camera? I mean, most horror games would never explain something like that, and Animal Hospital doesn't either. It just quietly lets you figure it out for yourself, which almost makes the cameras feel less like surveillance and more like they're exposing something your brain isn't supposed to see. And if you thought that secret detail was pretty crazy, then there's still for most of the game, you naturally trust him. I mean, he's a doctor. He's supposed to know what's happening. But the more I looked around the hospital, the less convinced I became. Because every now and then, you'll catch what looks like another version of him standing outside the building watching. It's an anomaly version of Dr. Harlow. But the game never answers the question of why does whatever outside look exactly like
Dad,
him.
can I have a drink?
The wrong person the entire time. Another thing I couldn't stop thinking about was how weirdly specific some of the anomaly weaknesses are. I mean, remember earlier when we went over some? It was like maple syrup, coffee, and then teardrops? Yeah, none of those things are things you would naturally try to use to defeat an anomaly. Which means somebody had to figure them out first. So imagine being the first employee to discover that giving a horrifying monster breakfast somehow saves your life. Or that hitting an anomaly, your last sip of coffee, makes it peacefully walk away.
Dad,
I mean,
my
these
drink.
instructions almost feel like somebody left behind instructions. Except those instructions are scattered throughout the gameplay instead of written down anywhere. It's almost as if previous hospital staff had already learned how to survive, and we're just rediscovering what they knew. And then I noticed something else that was even more of a secret detail. Because have you noticed how the game rarely relies on loud jump scares? Instead, it actually makes you question yourself. I mean, you'll walk past someone and then suddenly think, wait, did they look like that a second ago? Or maybe you'll leave a room only to wonder if someone was standing in the hallway. Or maybe you'll catch a movement out of the corner of your eye and turn back and nothing's there. And whether that's clever level design or just your own paranoia, the result is the same. You stop trusting yourself. And honestly, that's way scarier than any monster.
Put him in bags, I'll put him up there for now in the shed.
Thank you, Daddy.
Never really feels empty. Even when there aren't many patients around, it feels like something is still happening somewhere else. Maybe it's a hallway you haven't checked, maybe it's someone sitting in the waiting room, maybe it's whatever's watching through those lobby windows. The game constantly creates this feeling that you're only seeing a small piece of what's actually going on. Like there are dozens of stories
Stop syrup, maple syrup.
and you're only catching glimpses of them. And that's probably why every playthrough feels a little different each time. You never quite know what you're going to notice next. And then I realized one secret that completely changed the way I looked at the game. This literally made me have an insane realization. Maybe the anomalies aren't the real mystery. I mean, think about it. The game gives you tools to deal with almost all of them. Coffee, teardrops, maple syrup, weapons, shutters, cameras. The hospital seems surprisingly prepared. Almost too prepared. Which makes me think the biggest secret isn't that anomalies exist, it's that somebody expected them to. That means the hospital already knew exactly what it was dealing with, long before we ever walked through the front doors. And somehow, that idea is a lot creepier than any monster in the game. Now, obviously, some of these are just theories like that last one, but the game leaves a lot open for interpretation. But honestly, I think that's what makes Animal Hospital so interesting, is that it never stops every 5 minutes to explain its world. Instead, it quietly leaves clues everywhere, and some are hidden in gameplay, some are hidden in item interactions, and some only appear if you're paying attention to the background. And some, even most players, probably haven't even discovered. Which means every time someone plays this game, there's still a chance they'll stumble across something nobody else has noticed before. And honestly, that's probably the biggest secret of them all. Now, after making this video, I don't think Animal Hospital is just a hospital anymore. I think the lore goes a lot deeper than that, and I think it's a place that's been fighting these anomalies for a very long time. And we're just the newest employees trying to survive. Animal Hospital has quickly become one of Roblox's biggest horror games. And at first glance,
There's been a huge anomaly attack.
Okay.
6 people died and many more were hurt.
Pretty simple, or at least that's what I thought. Because after
Be
spending
prepared, the
many hours
ambulance
inside
is
this
coming.
hospital, I realized something. Every single character in this game is hiding a secret. Some are
Right.
secretly investigating Animal Corporation from the inside. One character completely disappears. Another
I
leaves
don't
behind
feel so.
evidence that
Okay,
changes
you
everything.
shush.
And by the end of today's video, you're
Hit,
gonna know the lore
hit,
behind every important
hit.
Animal Hospital character and how
Patient
they
on
all
fire.
come together. So let's talk about it. Now, before we can talk about everyone
That's an
else, we actually
anomaly.
need to talk about you, the player. Because unlike most Roblox horror games, you're not some random person who wandered into an abandoned building. You're an inmate. It's literally your first day working at Animal Hospital, and Dr. Harlow welcomes you. He shows you around, explains your job. Everything feels completely normal and like a normal job. Your responsibilities are
Hurry up.
also pretty straightforward. Patients arrive at the front desk, you check them in. Some are perfectly normal, and others aren't. And as both you and I know, those are all known as anomalies. And your job is to identify them before they get inside the hospital. Simple enough. Except the game never actually explains one very important thing. Where did these anomalies come from? I mean, seriously, think about it. Every horror game usually tells you why monsters exist. In some horror games, maybe it's a curse, or maybe it's a virus, or maybe it's some science experiment that's gone wrong. But Animal Hospital never tells you. You're simply expected to accept that anomalies exist and continue doing your job. That tiny detail becomes incredibly important later because the more characters you meet, the more obvious it becomes that everyone knows something. But nobody knows the entire story. Now let's move on to our first character, the very first person you actually meet, which is Dr. Harlow. And honestly, he's exactly what you'd expect from the head doctor. He's professional, he's calm, he's friendly, and he welcomes you to the hospital. And after he welcomes you to the hospital, he explains how your job works, makes you feel like you're in good hands, and if this were any other Roblox game, you probably wouldn't think twice about him. I mean, honestly, you would trust him immediately, but that's exactly why he's so interesting. Throughout the game, Dr. Harlow almost never tells you the hospital itself, not why the hospital exists. He also explains families, not where they come from, but every answer he gives just feels incomplete. It's almost like he's carefully choosing what information you're allowed to know.
My
And once
sanity
you
is too
notice
low.
that, you start
One sec.
paying a lot more
I feel like my
attention to it.
sanity is
Especially
low.
because
It
one of
is.
the first clues hidden inside the game points directly
One.
to Dr. Harlow. You see, if you're in the lobby of the game and you look up at one of the hospital windows, you can actually see him just standing there. He's watching, not treating patients, not doing his doctor job. He's just watching. He's not helping anyone. He's simply observing everything happening below, which, you know, it's a very, subtle detail, but it's one that's hard to ignore once you notice it. And later updates make him even more suspicious. You see, characters began mentioning hidden experiments, secret files, and one of those top secret briefcases belongs to Dr.
So
Harlow
thermometer,
himself.
ointment,
And
and medkit.
eventually, players can uncover a hidden safe concealed behind one of the hospital's motivational posters. And inside
Thermometer,
that safe are several items connected to the
ointment, and
mysteries.
medkit.
And one of them is Dr. Harlow's top secret briefcase. Another is a note that simply says the experiment was a success. And the game never tells us what exactly that experiment is referring to, or what experiment that is in the first place. But it does immediately change how you look at Dr. Harlow. Instead of simply being the hospital's friendly guide, he suddenly becomes one of the people who might know exactly what's happening behind the scenes. And what's interesting is that despite all this doing, the game never outright
You actually enjoyed your job.
Oh,
Let's be honest, you didn't have to work hard, but it was
that's probably why Dr. Harlow has become
a
one
long
of the
day when
Animal
you're standing there doing
community's
anything.
biggest mysteries. You never really know if he's trying to
Yeah,
help the
yeah, of
hospital
course,
or
but, you know,
protect it,
Back
or
to
is he the
the
one
one.
running whatever experiments everyone keeps talking
Oh,
about?
that just
Right
looked
now,
fine.
we simply don't know. But
Yeah.
he's definitely hiding more than he's willing to admit. Fast forward
Right.
to get to our next
Hi, Daddy.
also
What are we done with it
because
then?
after
Put it
you
safe?
meet Dr.
Yeah.
Harlow, you'll eventually run into another employee, the
Protect
shop
me.
Daddy's gonna have
and
my
compared to
food,
Dr. Harlow,
Then you're gonna
she's
do
much
my room and
quieter.
then
and then I'm gonna start doing your room.
and then the pool.
Yeah, and then the pool.
Okay. Yeah, we get the giant pool.
I would say I'll do the pool first, but if I do the pool first, I want to do the bedroom. The bedroom's more important.
And if you do the bedroom, you won't do the pool probably.
I think that chair needs to go out.
Okay.
We'll keep the broken rocking chair. Yeah?
Okay, good.
Make arrangements for what?
Okay. Let's go. I'm not good at doing the surgery, so this person needs to die. That's an anomaly.
Well, I'd like to think he's responsible enough to know that Hagrid cannot get on it.
To sell you items that help you survive longer shifts, and the items are things like coffee machines and other useful upgrades. Now, at first, she seems like one of the least important characters in the entire game. I mean, you're probably thinking, why are we even talking about this lady? How does she have any lore behind her? But that's where things take a turn, because when you really think about it, she raises a very interesting question. She works inside the hospital every single day, which means if everything the other characters are saying is true, she would almost certainly know something. Yet, unlike Ron or Raphael, or even
What
the
room?
zombie animals that we're going to talk about later on, the shopkeepers never learn to. She never questions the hospital. She simply continues doing her job. And whether that's because she's completely unaware or because she feels okay is something the game still has. And sometimes the most important characters are the ones who
OMG.
never do anything.
Okay, yeah, no. Bye. That's too scary.